Welcome, everyone. Thank you for having me today. I would start straightforward without the introduction. As you will find out that I'm in a field of a transformational leadership, and I want you to have this experience today with me. So I would start with a brief imaginary idea, drafting you the idea of how would it sound to you if you can imagine that you may step into your highest life timeline, reduce your years, and get to a very successful era. I believe that we all in our lives are in a state of that we are looking for the ways how to live the best life ourselves. What are the ways how we can live our best lives with using the time that we have as a really very high level of efficient frequency, and also the time and plus the energies as assets that we have. Ladies and gentlemen, today I would like to bring you closer towards time shifting, the quantum leap, working with your own fears, taking the dedicated actions. And I would like to also bring you the manual on how you can do this quantum shifting yourself. Please listen carefully wherever you are and deep dive into these stories and into this manual yourself so you can very efficiently use it for your life. So as for the very first step, I would like to explain you what that timeline shift is. What is that timeline that we can use? I usually like to work with the people with their highest timeline, the way that I ask them to imagine their life timeline. So as if you would have the timeline of your life just in front of you that you will be considering. Each of us is at the different stage of life. So imagine that you are in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 50s, and so on. Wherever you are on the timeline, as the first step, I want you to make there a dot. Whether you are in your 20s, your 30s, your 50s, your 40s, 60s, make there a dot. That is you, your current version right now, with all your experiences, with your abilities, with all your earning potential, with the way how you present yourself in the world, with the way how you collaborate with others, with all your possessions, with all your lifestyle. That is you, in the present time. As the second step, I want you to imagine, and this would be a broad imagination, so work with yourself a little bit. Imagine yourself plus 10 years on your timeline. So you have your dot, and you're going to the ratio of plus 10 years. I know that I'm using usually quite huge, broad timeline of years, but I want you to definitely imagine yourself in the version of 10 years. Even though it is broad, you will understand later on why I work with this time frame. So imagine in that versioning of yourself, the way as much as possible as you can yourself with that plus 10 years ratio, what that version would be. How would that version look like? How would that version speak like? How would that version feel at the end of your days? Would you feel respected? Would you feel appreciated for something that you have done in the previous years? How would you act in those years? What assets you will have? What earning potential you will have? With whom you will speak? With whom you will collaborate? How you will present yourself as that best ideal version plus 10 years. As the third step, I want you to draft you to a way of a comparison. So in the third step, I want you to hold on the vision of that next level version of yourself, but I want to still work with that version that you are right now. So we may imagine on the left side, you have yourself, your version that you are right now. On the right side, you have the version with a plus 10 years ratio. So hold that imaginary, and now try to work within the gap in between. Yeah. What is in the gap? What do you feel? What you can identify as your huge actions in the gap? Yeah. What do you see in the gap? What are your fears in that gap that are holding you from moving towards that upper side, the upper version? Yeah. What all can you reassess there? What do you need to learn? Yeah. What do you need to maybe relearn? But also what you need to start doing and stop doing to get you directly there. So now this is what I call this step. This is a kind of retransitioning of your persona, where you can see all that is in that gap, all that is missing, the big parts, the big leaps. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what will get you there, closer to that version that you want to be. And that is the huge action, huge steps through that fears that you can identify. So let's see the fear as your navigator. Yeah. What I can say is only the bigger the fear, the bigger the action that you can take, the better. The closer you will get to the right side, the closer. So very important is to know also that yes, I'm working with a 10 years ratio. You may not get to that 10 years with that huge action. But what if you can get to a reduction of 5 years, 6, 7? Would that be efficient? I would say so. So be aware of that huge leap that you need to do. And I want now you to understand, how do you recognize that action that you need to perform? How do you recognize that? How do you understand to what fear and what action, therefore, what huge one to step into? So usually in a life, it is coming in the form of opportunities. In the form of opportunities that are coming to us, but they are way bigger than to that left version, imaginary possibility. And yes, indeed, those are your opportunities that you need to take. So I want you to understand also, and this I know for 100%, you may want to try to play with it a little bit in your life. Test these opportunities. I will then tell you why. Because if those opportunities that you are so much afraid about are coming to your life, that means only one thing. And that is that you are completely ready for them. I'm not saying that when you will access these opportunities, you will not feel that fear. You will not feel a little bit shaken. Yeah. You will feel that initially that you are not secure there. It's because that your version on the left side needs to work within that whole shift and accept it as it is right now. That, yeah, there needs to come a huge amount of acceptance of that, your ability that you were so much afraid about, but that you have. So I suggest you in your life to listen to your navigator, to your fear navigator, and take this opportunity, step into that, because this is what you will initially do. So there is a very important point also to understand, once you will step into that action, you will do it, you will definitely be there. There can come something what I call as a test. The test that you may get is the test from a kind of a universe, or how to call it, a higher source that would want to test you if you can hold on, if you can sustain that what you have been asked for. You can stay there in that version. And this is very important for you to keep on going. You may be having a test which is very huge, that may want you to, it may even scare you so much to stay there. And this is exactly the moment where you stay. Because if you stay, later on will come the moment of a stabilization. So the version on the right side will be stabilizing itself. And all that can come, all the opportunities that can come to the version will be coming because the version is stabilized. So why it is important to own your highest timeline? As you can see right now, if you will be at that version, it is very important for you because you will be walking in the sense of ownership of your life. You will be walking within your highest purpose, your highest desires, directly matching those and taking the actions, the bigger actions that will be appearing there, accessing the opportunities as well, which is very important. So imagine that you will be walking with your highest timeline, doing the quantum shifts, walking through your fears. What do you think that you will see in your life? The way bigger achievements, and at the same time reducing your years. So this is, I suppose, that what we want. It is very also important to address this point of a necessity to do that. Because imagine if you are not going to do this, what all you are losing. So on the one side, you're losing the opportunities that are coming to you if you are not going to take them. You're losing your ability to access yourself at that versioning that already exists, that you can be. But what is the most important? You're losing the visibility on that timeline. Imagine that you're on that timeline and you're losing the visibility of what your next step can be. Now, let me tell you a very magical thing out of all of this. Imagine then if we say that the time is illusionary. So even that timeline that you imagine at that version right now, plus 10 years, can be something if you step into it, into momentum between that years, into that gap, and it will be the version closer to the 10 years. Imagine that this version will see completely different goals and completely different timeline. And that is your momentum. That is your massive shift. That is what you can gain out of your life if you're able to do this, if you're able to manage the steps. This is, let me tell you, very important also for the entrepreneurs to own that highest timeline. Because as an entrepreneur, you need to know to address, to understand, to define your huge action steps, to not be the blank. So to know, to truly own that space and to have that vision to where you're going on your timeline. And also through this massive shifts, you will get closer and closer towards understanding what your legacy is. You will be able to redefine or define better your own legacy. And that is what I believe that is very necessary and crucial to understand in today's world, and to differentiate yourself by knowing your real self and owning your quantum shifts. Thank you, everyone. I was really pleased to be here with you. And I'm happy to provide you even more value in the future.